What we wanted to look at was how anatomy could be seen as a series of transformations of processes rather than structures, skeletons in cases, preparations in a laboratory, but as a continuing transformation of biological material.
What was interesting in this project was seeing how the processes of ceramics could mirror the anatomical processes. Bone china samples I made, where they were calcified samples. I put calcium into the clay. After about a week, they spontaneously exploded. Very nicely mirrored some of the specimens in the museum, which are actually very dynamic and volatile and have in the past leaked or exploded. The ceramics could almost be a physical manifestation of these ideas about transformative processes in anatomy. My desk that became almost like an installation of the work I've been doing, but it very much mirrored the various tables where the conservation team left out their work in progress.
What you were doing in that space by showing work in progress is very much what the daily activities of that museum is. It's a working museum where people are restoring, examining, I guess, the collection.
And I've come out of it with not only what we actually generated during the residency, but a kind of whole library of things in my mind of potential projects that could come out of this.
What it became was something which universities should be about, which is open-ended discussions between different disciplines. What we wanted to look at was whether an intervention placing someone within a very sensitive area, dissecting room, could awaken people to different aspects of what they were doing that they wouldn't normally recognise. So we devised a project where students would bring in items and staff would bring in items to be repaired.
You're doing your understanding through opening up, and I'm doing mine by putting back together. So the darning and the mending is reconstructing, repairing, putting back together, and I'm understanding like the life of this garment.
That's the same with bodies. End up with a history which you can't ignore, and maybe your clothing ends up with a history you can't ignore, and you're just examining it in a different way.
These medics or dentists,
yes.
It's their threshold experience to thinking of themselves as doctors, like this is their first encounter with the body.
This is extremely powerful collaboration that reached a lot of people, and I think it reached a lot of people because we approached it very, very carefully. What the project has shown me is there is a route into understanding science and medical education through arts collaborations in a way that we can't do for ourselves.
It's like windows into different ways of thinking, which is really, really thrilling.
The project was about structures and how they could reform and deform, and it was about making iterative models that explored this.
And the theme of the lab is morphological computation. So how to simplify future robots and make them safer. We want to find better ways to get robots to passively react to uncertainty in the environment. From a maker's point of view, they also do these marvelous things without having sensors and processors. And then these structures do things, meaningful things, functionally active things.
We made a series of hundreds of models with quite basic starting points that then became more evolved. This was something that, a little bit of magic that we all got quite excited about, how this element could move and twist. Exploration of models in one material and thinking about movement in certain ways has then led to a library of information that I can now dip into.
Parallel practice is really important for us to see our own weaknesses. I benefited, and then other academics can benefit.
We were exploring how we can introduce unconventional materials into interfaces for sensing how people move. I have an interest in making wearable robots.
I've got an interest in using biological, sort of biometric data as a starting point within my work.
I like to view it as a 3-month kind of hackathon. The kinds of things that Karina knows in her everyday practice are not things that you read from a textbook, certainly not from an engineering textbook. For example, doing satin stitching. We can use it, for example, in isolating circuits.
E-textiles is an evolving field. What I found very useful was the fact that I could work with academics who are experts within the field of robotics, within the fields of electronics.
We did come out with a prototype garment. This is basically a world first in terms of textile sensing of muscle activity. One of the areas in which we'd like to take this is in wearable assistive sensing.
We're probably not going to know the real results of the collaboration maybe for 12 months or even longer, because really what it was about sowing seeds in each other's brains.